Welcome, everybody. We're back. I'm back, and I have a wonderful new speaker. We're in the 6-day free series, Break Through Your Blocks and Reinvent for women 40 plus, ready to get clarity, take the next steps, and reinvent themselves. My name's Mitta Wise. I'm the host. I'm here in sunny and today breezy Los Angeles. And let's get on to our speaker, because that's the exciting part today. So here today with us, we have Tammy Dunnett, and her summit topic today is clarity in conflict. Ooh, I love it. Welcome, Tammy.
Thanks for having me, Mitta. I'm so delighted to get this time to talk with you and the attendees.
Yes, and Tammy's a friend and a fellow entrepreneur, and I love what she does. It's in a very important niche, so we're going to get on and have a talk about it. So Tammy, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, background, etc., etc.
Sure. So I didn't have clarity in conflict many moons ago. Right. And as a result, I didn't know how to solve it. I didn't know how to resolve the problems I was having with my supervisor. And I would like to say that I was able to get that clarity in that relationship, but I did not. That one came to an end. I left that job, went to another job, and found myself in the exact, quote unquote, exact same place with another workplace bully. And I thought, wow, I need to get some clarity on this, because there's something I'm doing or not doing that is keeping this situation in my experience. And I need to fix this.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And while you're sharing it, I realized I didn't read your introduction to everybody. So I'm going to read it now.
Sure, sounds good.
So Tammy Dunnett is an ex-target of working bullying and the founder of Relationship Revolution, which I love. She's changing the way relationship is done, one conversation at a time, so you can confidently handle difficult conversations while keeping your relationships intact. And that's why I said this is so important, and I'm so grateful to have you here, Tammy.
Yeah, thanks.
So with that little segue, let's hear a little bit more about your work today.
Yeah, so interesting. What comes to us is, they say, what is it that saying? Something about the mother of invention. Anyways,
yeah.
The necessity is the mother of invention. I had a need to stop being a target of workplace bullying. And so I started to have to look at what was going on in our relationships. And I was the common denominator. And as much as I don't want it to be me, I had to look at me. I had to go, what am I doing? What am I saying? How am I being with these people that's contributing to this tension? And with that beginning reflection in that second job site, we were able to resolve that issue with one conversation. And I started to look back at all the moments when I was successful and really start to dissect them and what I was doing to get that. And that was helping me get clarity in terms of my part in the conflict.
That's wonderful. And what is conflict?
Well, this is such a great question, because a lot of people will say to me, well, can it just be me? Like, do I have to tell them that I have a problem? Yes, you do. It's not a conflict if you keep it to yourself. That's just a problem for you. Like, they don't know. They're going to carry on with their lives and live the way they've lived without knowing that they can be part of a solution. So conflict is, first of all, inevitable. We're all going to have it. Nobody's immune to it. But it is between two or more people. And the resolution is dependent upon those people that are in the conflict. So the other piece to conflict is there's often a scarce resource or a scarce reward. So for example, if you're a night shift worker and your neighbor's not, you get home at 8 a.m. and want to go to sleep, and they're repairing their roof. That resource of time is part of the conflict. We can't change the hours in the day. We can't change your shifts. So how do we resolve this conflict?
And if we lack clarity, does that create more problems if we're not really clear about what it is we want? I mean, in that situation, we're probably pretty clear, but sometimes we're not always as clear as that, right?
Well, and we often start with the umbrella. The most obvious thing we want, like say we go back to this example, if you're a night shift worker, the most obvious thing you want is for them to not do their roof. But that's actually not going to build a connection, because we can't tell them to stop. We need to find a way to work together. And because obviously the workers are being paid to be there. And so we have to go a little deeper. We need to get some information around three things. There's three things to clarity. There's self, What am I thinking, feeling, doing, need? There's a whole bunch to that. There's the other person. We need clarity around their experiences as well. Then there's the problem. We often get so caught up in what we need that we don't look at the problem at its core. So our resolutions aren't often met with joy when we suggest to someone, could you knock it off for a while? I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, that's an important point. And why are these clear expectations and boundaries so important in that situation and other situations? Like thinking about clear expectations and boundaries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, if you aren't clear on what you want, I mean, the first thing to resolving conflict is to really know what you intend to do. Like, what is your intention in the relationship? So if we take another example that I think a lot of the listeners will relate to, bullying in the workplace. If you're going to leave that job, your intention is to quit, then your next step in planning is that you start to build your resume, you start to apply to jobs, you start to maybe start practicing for interviews, because your intention reveals the pathway you need to take. So if your intention is to stay in this job and find a way to work together, you're not dusting off your resume, because that would go against what you really want to have occur. So the clarity comes with, what do I really want in this relationship with this person? Like, what is my underlying goal that I would like to see happen?
So important. And to tell us more, you talk about the paused model of conflict engagement. What is that?
Well, we can all use a good pause, my girl. We can all use a good pause.
Right.
It's a play on words, first of all. The pause model is about taking time and space to think about your feelings, think about the issue, think about how you'd like to approach it. So there's a really, it's called the golden gap. When you first feel triggered, to train yourself not to react, but to take some time, the pause, that is where we engage them with our thinking brain again. It's beautiful space. But the actual pause framework is also, it stands for the elements that you need to engage with to resolve issues. So P is to park your perception. So we all have a quick judgment about what's happening. Like, oh my God, Mitta, you just said something that I totally disagree with. You're out to get me. But maybe that's not the truth.
Right.
So I need to be able to say, okay, this is what I think is happening, and just park that for a while. And ask some questions to understand. So that's the A and the U. The S is to share safely. And when we get to the exploring options, that we need to do. So it actually stands, each letter stands for an action to take towards resolution.
I like that. I know some people feel like they have to sort of reclaim their reputation. Is reputation really important?
Yeah, such a great question. I think when it comes to your career, if this is where you're feeling like you're lacking clarity, or even in your relationship, we all have an image that we make, that we project out to the world. And often our reputation is like bank. It's the money. It's what people learn to trust about you. They have a comfort knowing that this is who you are. This is what you say you are, and this is how you say you behave. And I can trust that in you. And when that trust is broken, it's like the stocks go down, the stock market crashes, and you don't have a lot of influence anymore. So your reputation is certainly important.
And what other sort of things do people go through? Like, what are some of the top mistakes made by people who are very well-intentioned?
I love that you said that. I believe everyone is well-intentioned.
Right.
And I come from being an ex-target of workplace bullying, and the stats will tell you 70% of managers in the workplace are bullies. I totally disagree with that. What I've come to learn is that we have people who don't know how to have hard conversations, and we just go with our first impression, and our first judgment is to protect self and claim them as a bully, and I'm a victim, I need protection, right? So I forget your question now. Intention, well-intentioned people, mistakes people make.
And the mistakes, yeah.
Yeah, I think the first mistake is that we give our power away by not exploring things, by expecting other people to step in and solve the problem, when in fact, many times, you've probably experienced this yourself, you've walked away going, oh, I should have said something.
Right.
And I just didn't have the confidence to do it. And that's partly because we don't have the clarity around those three elements of self, other, and problem.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work a lot with women over 40? And if you do you find there's a particular thread that runs through that wonderful, amazing group of women? Or do you
Yeah.
find it just so different and unique?
Well, I'm particularly in the healthcare field, this is where and there's a lot of women in healthcare. So yes, and yes, I work with women over 40. The generational piece is important. You know, what the context in which they were raised, I think, is more important than the age. So what was the home environment like? What were those expectations? So for example, my dad was a fabulous dad, hard worker, but when he was stressed out, he would drink. And when he would drink, he became verbally abusive. So the context of my life growing up is more important than the age. And when he was really abusive, my mom would gather the kids and go hide in the other room. Now, I don't remember ever being in that other room with my mom. I was always the one in between everybody, telling my dad, sit down, shut up, you're drunk, you're stupid, you know, all things that will not work in the workplace, by the way. So I don't recommend that.
Right.
And I had a real dislike for my mom's method. I actually didn't appreciate or value her method of conflict resolution until many, many, many years later. And so I didn't have any role models growing up to teach me how to do this. So it's that context more that I'm curious about for the people who are looking for clarity, because we can get a lot of insights from, well, this is what you were shown. This makes sense why you're doing it this way. Here's the gap, and let's move forward.
Interesting. Yeah, you talk also about shifting culture. Can you speak a little bit to that?
About shifting, sorry?
Culture. It's my accent.
Culture. Oh,
My New Zealand accent.
That sounded very, special. Shifting culture. I love shifting perspectives because it changes the experience. So when I talk about shifting culture in the workplace and in the relationships, it's really about choosing how you show up, because you can influence others just by how you show up. When you work in alignment with your value, that's part of that clarity piece in self, understanding what motivates me. Why would I speak up? Why is that important to me? What am I trying to protect or defend or to honor? And so I kind of got lost again. I get so darn excited. My head goes like 100 places.
That's okay. Shifting culture.
And I'm like, where did you want me to go with that? Because I'm like over here already.
Well, that's okay. No problem. Yeah. Well, I did have another question I specifically wanted to ask you, because I know you work with a lot of healthcare professionals.
Yes.
And I wondered, do you also work with other professionals?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm currently working with someone who's struggling in her marriage. And I'm working with someone who's in the C-suite. So, you know, up in the executive offices. So it's like everything in between. From divorce to high corporate, in terms of navigating their relationships and figuring out how to have hard conversations without risking that reputation or the relationship.
Love that. So do tell us more about some of the different programs that you offer, because I was looking on your site and I know you do some one-on-one, and what other kinds of programs? Tell us more.
Yeah, so I just actually am in the middle of my coaching certification with Coactive Institute. And so that's the one-on-one work that I've been building up a little bit more. And so if any of your listeners are thinking they'd like a coach and they're curious how I might be able to support them in their relationships or their career, reach out to me, because I've got 10 spots that I'm going to fill in with special pricing. And then I also have group coaching, where we look at the communication skills and our presence and our brand and all of those things that help us identify the things that are working for us and the things that are not working for us. And of course, conflict is a big part of that.
No kidding. So, you know, the last 2 years we went through the pandemic. We're sort of coming out a little bit of it here. Can you tell the viewers how you made it through the 2 years and how you adapted, and also how you helped your clients and the people that you help and help them adapt? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I was working at home before the pandemic. So for me, it wasn't a huge transition to be at home away from people. The struggle for me was not having the family and the friends around. And I'm noticing now that I get people fatigue. Like, I'm so used to being on my own, and we've got the Zoom, we've got times, we close it up when it's done, and we're not having people stay late at your house. And I'm like, I want to go to bed. I'm exhausted from talking to you all now. And making that small talk is so, I didn't know how exhausting it was before. So for me, that's the struggle I've had, is getting back into being in live situations with people and carrying out those conversations. But in terms of helping others get through COVID, it's really just the heart of relationship is communication. when you're stressed, how can you communicate that so the other person values what you're sharing, respects what you need without feeling like they are the cause? Maybe they are, but if they are, that's a different conversation, but they want to be part of the solution, right? I think everybody wakes up thinking about how can this day be a good day, not how can I make somebody's day miserable.
Right.
So we want to help them do that.
And talking about the day, do you have any particular daily things that you do, like daily rituals, daily exercise, daily anything, or every couple of days that you do that you think sharing it would help also benefit the viewers?
Two things: walking and stretching.
Yeah, so important. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the day. We just got a puppy, so it used to be my time. Now it's mine and the puppy's time. Every morning we go for an hour outside. And it's when my mind is the most creative. So it's so exciting for me to get out there. And then the stretching is when my mind can quiet and I can just kind of process it and just sit with being still.
How do you see your work in the future?
Oh, if I said I'm going to be the next Tony Robbins, would that be too much?
No, not at all. Woohoo.
Yeah. I see the work that I do is so impactful. Like, it didn't just change my life. I've taught thousands of students in the nursing profession how to have difficult conversations, and in some of the most intense moments, like when you see a colleague falsely chart, that's huge. How do you bring that up? How do you go to your colleague and say, hey, you jerk, you're lying on that paper, and that's not okay? That's a tough conversation. So like those kind of level of conversations, I help people have them so they can still work together. And that's a true story, actually. They did actually work together after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. You're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what if there's someone today that's watching you and they really feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just so, in this, like deep in this, right? What and you're really speaking to them, what could be a very first little step that they could take?
I would say take a pause and get quiet and find out what you really want. So if this is at work or at home, as we said before, if your goal is to stay in the relationship, you need to know why you want to stay in the relationship. Because motivation alone won't keep you moving forward. It's like motivation to me is like if you start a fire, you got all your wood and you got your paper and you light the paper, but it doesn't really take off. So you got to put a little bit of fuel on that fire to get it go. That's the motivation. But once that fuel burns off, the motivation is gone and we're left with the fear of continuing to move forward. So you got to go deeper. You have to know, why is it that this matters to me? And why am I willing to take a stand for it? Because if you don't, nobody else will.
It's so true. And then the other thing, of course, is to reach out and get help from someone like Tammy.
That's right. Yeah, of course.
So with that in mind, viewers, Tammy's links are all below. She's going to tell you about her free gift in a minute, but all of her links are below. And please reach out to her. She's got so much to offer. Go to her links, connect with her, give her some love, really delve deep into what she has to offer, especially if it's speaking to you. So, it can truly help. So, and Tammy, tell us about your free gift.
Yeah, so the biggest question I get asked is, Tammy, what do I say when? So that I don't make it worse, because people want to speak up, but there's a huge fear that it's going to create more drama, retaliation, more anxiety. We don't want that. So there's 10 scripted responses in this document. It's called Safe Conversation Starters. And there are 10 offensive behaviors that it matches with them. So for example, if somebody rolls their eyes at you and huffs every time you talk, like, geez, right? You want to address that because it doesn't feel good. It never feels good and it's unwanted. So there's a safe way to speak up and share that, such that either we're going to stop the behavior or we're going to open up an opportunity to explore it more and understand each other.
Great. Well, thank you. So Tammy's free gift link is also below with her other links. And so make the most of that. Tammy, any last words of wisdom?
Oh, so many come to mind. So many. Okay, if you're struggling in your relationships, it's because you don't have clarity. First of all, we're going to come back to your theme. I think clarity is a fantastic theme. Second is interpersonal problems require an interpersonal solution. All of that peripheral stuff, like talking with your friends just to get it off your chest, while that feels good, It's not helping you solve the problems. Taking medications for sleep and anxiety, I was there, helped me sleep, but it didn't solve the problems in the relationship. So you absolutely have to address the problems. Otherwise, they're never going to go away.
Good advice. Thank you, Tammy. So again, make sure you go to Tammy's links below and really connect with her. She has so much to offer. And that's pretty much, yes, exactly. Lots of love and lots of expertise as well and experience. So that's it for today. We were speaking with Tammy Dunnett, and I'm Mitta Wise. Tammy, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mitta.
And we are signing off, and it's a wrap for today. Bye, everybody.